Hi, this is Dave Isaacs coming to you from Music Row here in Nashville, Tennessee. And I want to do a video today about something that you may not have given a whole lot of thought to, which is the kind of pick that you use. And I want to demonstrate the difference in feel and sound between light, medium, and heavy picks. So I have a light pick right here, which you notice has a great deal, there it is, great deal of flexibility to it. And when you strum with it, the pick really moves out of the way, kind of bounces across the strings. And when I strum more actively, you notice you get a nice, clear, transparent sound. You've got a certain amount of this, but it's not tremendously loud. Now, if I go to a medium pick and do the same thing, you notice that it's louder, there's more sound coming from the guitar, and you definitely hear a little bit more of this, but you're also getting a lot more of the low end of the instrument. Those bass frequencies that warm up the sound. And not only is there a difference in the strumming sound, but in the picking of individual notes. If I want to play a line, with the medium pick, there's that tone, and here's the tone with the thin pick. So you notice it's not quite as warm, it's not quite as thick sounding. And so if I'm going to be playing more lead, a thin pick is really probably not going to suit my purposes because it's not going to allow the sound to cut through in the way I need it to. If I go to a heavy pick, here's strumming. Bigger sound, but almost too big. I have to be careful not to use too much force in this hand because what ends up happening is the percussiveness, the sound of the pick hitting the string, becomes so loud that it almost starts to overshadow the sound of the chord. On the other hand, if I really do want a strong, powerful backbeat, it sounds good. But on a more active strum, say a faster song or a busier strum, it's a little bit almost overdriven, if you can have such a thing on an acoustic guitar. Almost more force than the string really needs to resonate properly. Here's the same kind of pattern with a medium pick. And here's the same pattern with a thin pick. So depending upon the tone you want, how much transparency or how much thickness, fullness of the sound you're looking for, you use the appropriate pick to give you the sound that you need. I tend to use heavier picks because I go back and forth between lead and rhythm, and if I'm going to play rhythm, and especially on a busier strum, I keep my right hand very light. But then when I want to play single notes, it's a much thicker sound. So if you have something that has, for example, a combination of bass notes and strums, those bass lines sound nice and fat. Now listen to the difference with the thin pick. That's not nearly as gratifying to me. I like to hear that nice fat sound. And again, just playing straight lead with a heavy pick versus a medium, and versus a light. Now, I'm also varying the amount of force that I use, and I'm varying how much intensity I'm putting into the note. You hear the difference more in the strumming than the picking, and you also hear it more down in the open position. That was light. This is heavy. This is medium. They're really just three different tone colors, and they're all appropriate for different situations. So what you want to do is experiment and see what works best for you. Probably most people end up using a medium pick because it's a happy medium. It gives you some of the flexibility that you get from a light, but it also gives you a little bit more warmth in the single note lines. There's another variable, which is how you have your guitar set up. I've got reasonably high action and reasonably heavy strings on here. This is a set of 13s on this guitar, which would, I guess, be a medium gauge in most acoustic guitar sets. And so it needs a little bit more oomph. It needs a little bit more power to make the strings speak. But I find that warmth and that fatness very gratifying. And so I find that I lean more towards those heavier picks, and the variable really becomes how much force I'm putting into that right hand. Or simple strum, busy strum. Again, compared to the thin. So the bottom line is there's no one way to go about this. There's no right way. You have to experiment and see what works for the style of music you play and for the way that you play, and find what produces the sound that you find most pleasant and is most appropriate for what you do. I should also mention too, specifically the way that I'm holding the pick is I'm holding it between my thumb and forefinger, and the pick basically sits on top of my index finger, and then the thumb comes on top of that. So the pick is at a right angle to my thumb, and essentially becomes just an extension of my thumb. So when I strum, I just move the hand. My thumb is now pointing up the neck, and I just swing the arm. You will see people do things like bend the pick this way, like that, but that forces you to twist the arm. Which, number one, to me feels uncomfortable and probably would feel uncomfortable to you. And number two, it limits the amount of sound you can really produce because you're not getting the full force and weight of the arm behind it. So that's something to be aware of. But I've seen people that hold the pick this way between the thumb and middle finger with the index sitting on the side, and sometimes that works just fine. So again, you experiment and find what works for you, but I do believe the most natural position is holding the pick between thumb and forefinger and just thinking of that pick as an extension of your thumb. So you notice that I'm not letting too much pick show, because then I've just got all this pick flapping in the breeze. It makes more noise, and on top of that I have less control over it. It's like choking up on a baseball bat. This way, again, I'm really just moving the thumb, and the pick is the thing it's produced, or rather, I'm moving the arm, but the pick becomes an extension of that thumb. So it translates the weight and force of the arm swing to the string a whole lot more efficiently than if you got all that pick showing. So this is really a simple topic, but it's something that a lot of people haven't put a lot of thought into. So I hope this video has made you think a little bit. I hope you find it useful. Go and experiment and try different picks and see what works for you. Some companies just make light, medium, and heavy, and some companies actually measure them out by millimeters. The heavy that I'm using right here is 1.09 millimeters. And then here's sort of a medium heavy, which is 0.73, and it's somewhere between a medium pick, as I said. Yes, I called it medium heavy, so it's between a medium pick and a heavy pick. And I can do the busier strums with this too. But notice that those treble strings, you really have to be careful with, because it can almost be too loud if you want to balance with the bass. So now what I'm doing is I'm varying the amount of force I'm using. And of course, getting into that could be a whole other video. But in any case, I hope you found this helpful. My name is Dave Isaacs. If you're in Nashville, Tennessee, or even if you'd like to work with me over Skype, look me up. My website is www.nashvilleguitarguru.com. Thanks for watching, and again, I hope you found this helpful.